I'm Paul Hoffschmidt, founder and CEO of Alpha Sophia, and today I'm joined by Steven Flutie-Davis, founder and CEO of PitchThink. Great to have you today. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Steven.
Hi, Paul. Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, so I'm a medical device guy. Started literally from the bottom, selling Me Too, just distributor products, and kind of worked my way all the way up through sales, training, marketing, and now founder of CEO. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you today. Maybe let's dive a little bit deeper into PitchThink, the company you're currently building, which is at the core of networks in the medical device industry. So tell us a little bit about the founding story of PitchThink. How did you get started? How did you encounter the problem? Take us on a journey, how that company evolved.
Yeah, so it kind of started back in my rep days. I had a few physicians I worked with that really wanted to try to develop a product, and I think every med rep has a doctor that they've worked with that says, hey, I have an idea, and I want to try to figure out how to get it done. And so like every rep did, I kind of went to my marketing teams and said, hey, we have a few doctors that want to try to get a product developed, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. It's kind of what we call the slow no, where companies will take you to dinners and kind of string you along, and they don't mean to do it in a negative way. They just don't have the resources. And so that didn't sit well with me. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm in that marketing role, and I realized the problem that I saw earlier in my career is bigger than I expected. And that's something that we really try to set out to solve, is to fix the slow no and to make medical device resources more accessible to the market. So we're really excited. We launched just a couple months ago, and what we want to do is, again, connect developers and innovators, whether that's startups or independent physicians, with a group of high quality, vetted, just good people that can help bring their product from napkin sketch all the way to commercialization.
Understood. So it's a little bit like a marketplace, bringing the right people together, a matchmaking solution. Can I imagine it like this, or?
Yeah, no, imagine, so it's Upwork. It's Upwork or Fiverr, but for medical device only,
Okay.
But it's for an elite group of individuals. We want to make sure that whoever's on our platform follows with the same mindset we have, which is we want to empower the medical device industry and allow for more products to come to market because of the accessibility of that.
Understood. From a company perspective, you started just quite recently, right? And got to market, or how long have you been in the game?
Yeah, so we launched May 1st. May 1st was our launch date, which is fun, sitting in our cockpit just watching where everybody was signing on from the company, from the world, and we had 2,700 people come to us week one, all organic. We haven't spent a dollar on any marketing, so it was all word of mouth, and we just owe our consultancy group everything for that. They're the reason that this company is pretty much surviving right now.
That's really great. That's quite some traction in just right off the starting gate. So having had that successful start, what are you currently focusing on? What's your main focus with PitchThink at the moment?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do was launch our platform, and we knew that there's a pivotal moment in all startups, and we wanted to make sure that the foundation was there for us to pivot in any which direction. So we really started with the mission of wanting to empower physicians to find projects. But what we saw, there's a lot of startups that were coming to us and saying, hey, look, we have a product we're working on. We need to build our core development team, but we want to do it contract-based. And so that's really what we're focusing right now, is helping startups scale in an efficient, cost-effective manner, where traditionally you'd have to find a recruiter to find you a consultant, and that could take a few weeks, months, up to 6 months sometimes, and it's pretty cost prohibitive. What we wanted to do was say, hey, come to us, we'll help you cut your costs down significantly, and your time to find resources is like that. I mean, it's immediate. You sign up, we put you through the onboarding process, and next thing you know, you've got hundreds of consultants globally that are highly vetted. And so that's really the goal right now, is trying to help these startups scale in an efficient and cost-effective and timely manner to be able to bring products to market faster.
How do you do, is there some sort of qualification process for those consultants and experts coming onto PitchThink to make sure the quality level is as you describe, or how do you manage that at your company?
Yeah, so a lot of that's internal. We can't share all the secrets to the sauce, but really what it comes down to is there's an application process that people go through, and then I try to have a 15-minute call, or one of our team members have a 15-minute call. And what we really want to make sure is that, yes, you're who you say you are, but again, do you fit that goal and our mission, and that is empowerment of each other in the industry, from a consultant 101 consultancy side to helping physicians, to helping startups, to helping medical schools. And more than anything, we want to push education. So are you willing to help us educate the community and put together blog posts and things like that? So, and if they fit all of those, then we want them at the platform. If you're going to be effective in helping bring and change the industry for the better, we want you here. But there's a good vetting process through this that we can't spill all the secrets yet.
Great. And maybe to take a turn, going a step back from your past experience, you've been a medical device sales rep, sales manager, sales trainer at several medical device companies, larger ones, smaller ones, for several years. From your experience, what do you think separates good sales reps from great ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually owe this answer to my mentor, Kevin Faber, and even my marketing team. I think the best sales rep forgets about sales. Stop selling. When you decide that I am going to be an extension of this physician's clinical team, of the surgery center, of the facility, everywhere you're working, wherever you're working, when you become an extension of that team, and you understand how all the processes flow there, where the backup plans are, how to identify and read MRIs, X-rays, and you can talk to your surgeon ahead of time of, hey, what's the game plan here? And you're really trying to do everything you can to help their procedures run smoother, and you have the patient's best outcomes in mind rather than what am I selling today? Sometimes that's not your product. And it took a little bit for me to figure that out. But once I realized I can be the best person in this room by identifying everybody else's products and systems, the systems, how the operating room works, and then if things go wrong, staying calm in there as well. But again, stop selling and find a way to be the best clinical resource and just resource for the whole group of people you're working with. So I think that's what makes a truly great sales rep.
No, that's a great way of thinking about that. And I can fully imagine. I mean, in the end, what does every person like the most? Someone else who's supportive and is a team player on the same team, and then the selling just becomes secondary, and it's more about getting stuff done together. In medical device sales, when you had existing customers, existing surgeons you were working with, but when you were looking for a new one, started bringing new product to market, what were strategies for you to find early adapters for new products, to basically cold acquire new physicians you've never talked to about in the past?
Yeah, so when I was a rep back in the day, this was pre-Alpha Sophia, pre these other companies, and even LinkedIn, really. LinkedIn was just in its early infancy stages. So for us, it was really targeting who was coming to us. We had a pretty good foothold of who was in our area, but then you'd understand who's coming to who's graduating fellowship programs, who's moving to your area. And that was really getting tied in with the companies that you worked with, or being very close. Like I said, you want to be that resource, getting closer to the operating room, the nurse managers, because if you're working well with them, they want to continue to work with you. And so when you would find out that someone else is coming in, you'd have to identify, okay, what specialties are they working with? What are they trained on? And then what are their goals? Is it marketability? Is there products that you work with that could offer more direct-to-patient marketing that can help them grow their user base, as well as education? All of these physicians too, they want to learn as well. So how can you, again, provide more resources to them? But in the early days, it was really being tied in close with the marketing teams, with the fellowship teams, those programs, and then as well as continuing on that resources aspect of wanting to make sure that the hospital still wants to work with you. I focused on hip arthroscopy for a while and was lucky enough to work with one of the world's best hip arthroscopists who was a family friend, but it was nice because I had the opportunity to ask every dumb question every rep is afraid to ask. But by doing so, I was able to build up a pretty good knowledge base in hip arthroscopy. And when hospitals had physicians coming in, and this is still in the early days where there would be 2 or 3 hip arthroscopists in an area. But when a hip arthroscopist was coming to an area, I had hospitals calling me saying, hey, can you come help us walk through how to set this up and do that? And when I did that, that was fun. That's when I kind of felt like this is my aha moment. I'm in the right industry. I love what I'm doing.
Okay, med device folks, picture this. What if you could open up a CRM today and it already contained information for every potential lead for you in the country. And you could narrow down those leads further by looking at billing, location, seniority, so much more. Alpha Sophia is the strategy tool that we wish we had had when we were commercializing a medical device in the US market. But there's nothing stopping you. So visit alphasophia.com and learn more.
When you are being called up by the customers because you are the known expert in that field, in that area, maybe now connecting that work you've done in the past and all the experience you got from that with your current work at PitchSync, where many of the stakeholders using your platform are innovators, startup founders setting up new medical device companies and trying to get access to experts and consultants supporting them with the early steps of that journey. And you could be one of those experts and consultants yourself with that experience. What advice would you give to commercial leaders, founders of medtech startups when they get started? What are the do's and don'ts in the early phase to not mess it up and to build a winning company?
Yeah, I think what so many people forget in the development stage is, and companies, large companies do this as well. Some of them do this really well, but some of them forget to do this, is really build out a voice of reason. Go identify who your customers are, your friendly customers, and then your not so friendly customers. There's a product that I worked on the development team with, and it was going up against one of the number one meniscal repair device. And what we did is we consulted with 50 different physicians. Some liked the company I worked with, some most hated the company I worked with. And you need to take the voice of the customer into consideration over your own, agenda of what you're trying to launch. And then I think what we did was interesting. We did so in a very cost-effective, scrappy manner. We wanted to do it all ourselves. We didn't want to be equity dilutive. And especially as a founder, I'd say the biggest thing is protect your equity as much as you can in the early stages. But in your development process, get out there, talk to absolutely everybody you can. Our consultancy group really came up with our pricing strategy and payout strategies. And I can sit there and say, I think it should be this way, but maybe not everybody wants that, so maybe you're going to push some customers away. So I think early stages, that network and that ecosystem you build of opinion leaders, again, friendly and not friendly, is key to the development stages of your company.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Also, what you were saying about capturing the voice of the customer from the loving customers to the ones who hate you is just super important. I mean, what we do, every voice from the customer coming back from sales calls or customer success calls, we all write that in a Slack channel called Voice of the Customer to capture that, and then we periodically go through that to look what are the next development steps for our platform, and basically derive everything from the customer feedback. Maybe on a higher level, having so much experience in the industry, what change do you see in medical sales and marketing already happening or coming in the next years? Are there some paradigm shifts in terms of the way medical marketing and sales is done, or do you see other changes happening?
I think with platforms like yourself, I think it's so much easier to identify physicians coming to market now or coming to your area, especially also in the early developmental stages. You can identify where you want to launch your products easier than before. I think the physician targeting aspects are really great. The data analytics are growing significantly. So I think the decision-making process from the development side of being able to identify where we're going to launch is great. From the rep side, LinkedIn is phenomenal of being able to target new opportunities. And as a rep that didn't have that before, that would have to drive all over South Florida, you don't have to do that anymore. You can try to knock on the door. You don't have to sit there wait in the waiting room for an hour and a half to try to get 2 minutes of the doctor's time, give them a pamphlet, and I toss it out. LinkedIn really, I think, is an opportunity that kind of helps excel and expand the reach of reps as well.
In terms of digital outreach or digital channels, besides LinkedIn, do you see any other social media platforms now being used in medical sales to get in touch with doctors, or is there anything emerging?
Yeah, I think two sides. I think LinkedIn is really just becoming this unbelievable opportunity. There's so many other platforms that you can go interact with physicians. And if you do so in a way which you just want to learn, I think that's the best way to go about it. Don't sit there and try to sell somebody initially. Try to learn a little bit about them. It's interesting from the provider side. I was on a podcast with Kevin Brown a while ago. It was Ortho Development podcast, and it was focused on social media, and it was on the physician outreach side. And you're starting to see so many more of these physicians looking towards TikTok to give educational information to their patients, and they're seeing patients coming to them for that. I think that's a really interesting way right now, as well as Instagram. I think Instagram's also been so great at pushing and trying to build up the residency programs as well. But it's fun on the sales side, but I think I'm seeing more of a push on the physician, the provider side of growing their educational and the resources base for patients.
Interesting. That's really interesting. In terms of sales, I mean, the medical device sales reps who are also in the operating room, they will never disappear because they're just in their job. It's not only sales role, but as you mentioned at the beginning, it's also being a consultant in the operating room, supporting the surgeons and physicians with their work. That will never go away. But I think what many people are seeing is that the share of digital encounters and digital nurturing of leads and existing customers and so on is going up. Are there any other channels you've been using? Was email marketing, cold calling, were those things you were doing, or was it something which was never really effective and you didn't do that?
Yeah, so cold emailing, I did not find super effective for me. Granted, look, we still do it. You have to try to build your reach. I think the digital reach, especially via ad spend on LinkedIn, two things for me. There's more reach out there. There's more touch points to physicians, which means you have to build your walls up even more as a rep around your business. I think that's something that we need to understand, that you need to understand there needs to be more touch points with your physicians. At the same time, I think the digital reach is interesting because you can get more information to a physician without having to be in that waiting room with them as well. So yeah, I think it's kind of two-sided. It scares me a little bit as a rep, but at the same time, it goes back to being that resource. Where you have to build your walls up a little bit more. At the same time, I think as well, like you shouldn't be using one company sometimes for a procedure. Like say you're in a rotator cuff and there's bone quality, and your company has great anchors and there's poor tissue quality, but you don't have a good, bioinductive implant to put on there. Like, there's the RegenLab product from Smith Nephew that they do a great job marketing, and then you could use the Arthrex anchor. So being able to identify that on social is nice because you can build out your knowledge base of what to use in a case.
Yeah, that's really interesting. On a more higher level, do you see any other shifts in the MedTech market happening, also from a funding perspective for innovators and startups? I mean, that's quite relevant for you because, I mean, if there's funding in the market, they're able to hire experts and consultants. What's your outlook?
I think funding is difficult right now. I think everyone would say the same thing in the startup world. But if you have a good message, if you have a good platform, if you have good data behind there, and you connect with the right people, I think it's challenging, but it's not impossible. But I do think, again, going back to the social media world, I think if you get tied in with the right teams on social media, the bio associations, the life sciences, the innovation programs, there's funding available. But it's all about how do you want to go out there and find it, and if you're willing to go put the effort in there.
Yeah, I agree. It's always, I mean, great companies always get funding. It's just getting tighter in the middle field. So it remains like always. You need to be one of the best, and then everything works out. And if not, it's harder.
It's funny too, because I think all of us have the concept of my idea is so great. Why aren't people throwing money at it? Like I'm fixing the market, and I think every founder goes through that. Which is a lonely day sometimes, and I'm so thankful for my CFO. He's like, nope, this is the process which we're going through. It keeps me organized and pushing through on that. But yeah, the funding aspects are challenging, and we could do a whole podcast on that just alone.
Speaking about that, what's up next for you with PitchThink in the next couple of months, next year? What are the next milestones you're working towards?
Yeah, so we're working really hard on a few strategic partnerships. I can't mention them, but they are going to be very, very empowering to the industry. Again, that's our whole message, is we want to be able to help push more innovation. But we are extremely excited for those. Again, we launched and then we pivoted right after launch, and now we've got a solid game plan that we're pushing for. So we really want to see more startups come to us and try to help them grow, especially in those early stages. But there's a few partnerships in place that are going to be really game changing for the whole industry that once they're live, we'll circle back, and they're going to be exciting. I think everyone will hear about them.
Very cool. I'm gonna stay tuned. So Steven, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to welcome you back maybe in half a year when pitching is already through the roof. The rocket has fully started, and looking forward to hearing your learnings then. And as always, I mean, the startup world in a half a year, so much can change. So I'm gonna cheer from the sidelines. Thanks for having you today, and have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Look forward to coming back.
Can you afford to have a rep in every county, or do you need to be hyper-targeted in your outreach? Do you need to know information about your targets going in to be successful, or do you have years and years before you want to close that deal? If you want to be focused, if you want to deliver fast, you should visit alphasophia.com and help your sales team out.